Once upon a time, there was a little boy named Grady. And Grady had a very good friend. And his good friend's name was Goo-Goo. And Goo-Goo and Grady did everything together. They played and everywhere that Grady went, Goo-Goo went along. And everywhere that Goo-Goo went, Grady went along. One day, Grady asked his mommy and daddy, "Hey, mommy and daddy, is it okay if Goo-Goo comes over and plays?" And they said, "Sure, give him a call." So Grady called up Goo-Goo and said, "Hey, Goo-Goo, can you come over to my house and play?" So Goo-Goo asked his mommy and daddy, and they said, "Sure, you can go over." So in about 5 minutes, Goo-Goo came walking up the driveway, and Grady met him outside and said, "Hey, Goo-Goo, good to see you. How's it going? Did you bring anything to eat?" And Goo-Goo said, "Yeah, I brought a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And I got one for you, too." And Grady said, "Oh, good. I got a couple of cookies for us, and I packed some water, too. So let's go out on a hike." So Grady and Goo-Goo started out on a hike. And they went down the hill and through the forest and climbed a big hill. And at the top of the hill, Goo-Goo said, "Grady, what is that?" And Grady looked over and he said, "Oh my gosh, Goo-Goo, I think it's a spider ring." It was a huge spider ring, a spider web. And they said, "I wonder what kind of spider built this thing. This is a really big one." So they were looking at it, at the spider ring. And suddenly Grady said to Goo-Goo, "Goo-Goo, did you hear that?" Goo-Goo said, "No, I didn't hear anything." Grady said, "Listen carefully." And they heard, "Help me, help me." So Goo-Goo said, "Yeah, I heard it. Where do you think it's coming from?" And they looked around and Grady said, "Over there, looks like there's a hole in the ground. There's a cave or something over there." So they very carefully tiptoed over to the cave and they said, "Is anybody in there?" And then they heard, help me, I'm stuck. My foot's stuck in this rock." So they climbed into the cave, and you would not believe what was in the cave. It was a lion. It was a big lion, but it wasn't a ferocious lion. It wasn't growling or anything. He had tears in his eyes. And Grady said, "Oh my God, Mr. Lion, what's your name?" And the lion said, "My name is Louie the Lion, and I am very hungry and very thirsty, and I can't get my foot out. It's stuck in this rock." And Goo-Goo said, "Oh, I can see your foot is stuck. My name is Goo-Goo, and this is my good friend Grady." So Goo-Goo said to Grady, "How can we help this lion get out of this predicament?" And so Grady said, "I have an idea. There's a big branch out there. I bet if we brought the branch in there and stuck it in between the rock and his foot and then pulled it, maybe it would come out." So Grady and Goo-Goo went out and they got the big branch. And they had to shave it down to make it so it would fit between the two rocks where the lion's foot was stuck. So they stuck it in there, stuck it in between the two rocks, and Grady said, "Okay, Goo-Goo, I'm going to pull on this branch, and when I do that, you help lift the lion's foot out from between the rocks." So Grady pulled and pulled and pulled, and Goo-Goo lifted up the foot, and his foot was released. And the lion was so grateful. He said, "Oh, thank you so much." So Grady said, "Here, we brought you some water and some food too." So they gave the lion some water and food. And the lion said, "My name is Louie the Lion. And, oh, thank you so much. I've been in here for about a week, and you guys saved my life." And Goo-Goo said, "Well, that's okay." And Grady said, "We're glad to help. Now, do you want us to put a bandage around your foot?" And Louie the Lion said, "No, I think I'm okay." And so Goo-Goo said, "So, Louie, do you mind me asking, usually lions are ferocious and they growl and stuff like that. How come you didn't growl when you saw us?" And Louie the Lion said, "It's because I needed help and you look like two friendly people. So I have to tell you something. If you guys ever get in trouble, you just yell for Louie the Lion and I'll come and help you no matter what happens." And Grady said, "Well, thank you very much, Louie." So Goo-Goo said, "Okay, that's okay, Louie. We're glad to meet you, and we're glad we could help you. So we better get going because we're on a hike, and we got a little farther to go." So Grady and Goo-Goo said goodbye to Louie the lion, and they kept on hiking. So they got a little bit further, and all of a sudden, Grady stopped and said, said, "Goo-Goo, what does that look like up ahead of us?" And Goo-Goo looked, and it was behind a tree. And Goo-Goo said, "Oh my gosh, it looks like a dinosaur." And Grady said, "That's what I thought too. What kind of dinosaur do you think it is?" And Goo-Goo said, "Oh my gosh, Grady, it's a T-Rex." So Goo-Goo and Grady ran and hid behind a tree so the T-Rex couldn't see them. And then they said, "Shh, be real quiet. We don't want the T-Rex to find us." So the T-Rex came, and he took big steps, and then he looked down, and he saw Grady and Goo-Goo sitting behind the tree. And the T-Rex said, "Why are you afraid of me?" And Grady said, "Because you're a Tyrannosaurus Rex dinosaur, a T-Rex, and they're mean and nasty." And the T-Rex said, "No, I'm not. I'm actually good. My name is Tommy. I'm Tommy the T-Rex. What's your name?" Grady said, "My name's Grady, and this is my good friend Goo-Goo. So you're not going to eat us or anything like that?" And Tommy the T-Rex said, "No, of course not. I just want to play." So they played hide and seek and kick the can and a whole bunch of games. And then finally, after about an hour or so, Grady said to Goo-Goo, "Hey, Goo-Goo, I think we better get home. Mom and Dad are going to be wondering where we are and stuff." So Grady said, "Goodbye, Tommy. It was nice meeting you. Maybe we can come up and play with you another day." And Goo-Goo said, "Yeah, we'd love to do that." And Tommy the T-Rex said, "Okay, we'll see you again maybe next week." So with that, Grady and Goo-Goo left, and they walked back down the hill and through the woods and over the brush piles and everything, and then got back to Grady's home. And when they got back, Grady and Goo-Goo told Grady's mommy and daddy about all their adventures that they had. And Grady's mommy and daddy were very proud of them for saving the lion and for making new friends with the T-Rex. And then it was time for Goo-Goo to go home, so Grady's daddy and mommy gave Goo-Goo a ride home. And when they dropped him off at his home, Goo-Goo said, "Goodbye, Grady." And Grady said, "We'll see you in a couple of days, Goo-Goo." And that's the end of the story.